The South Fork of the Palouse River is a beautiful mixture of aquatic and riparian ecosystems, rich in vegetation and wildlife diversity. It runs from Moscow Mountain in Idaho to where it converges with the Palouse River in Colfax, Washington. Along its way to the Palouse River, the South Fork of the Palouse River runs through the heart of Pullman, Washington. In this map, the red line marks the boundary of the proposed restoration site, which is from Grand all the way to Rennie Park. So after designating the boundaries, this is sadly what we currently are seeing on the restoration site. So currently we have only identified 5 native species compared to the 7 and more introduced and invasive species. And what's worse is the amount of reed canary grass, which reduces biodiversity by altering hydrology, limiting tree regeneration, also vegetation like shrubs, and decreases retention time of nutrients and carbon stored along the riverbanks. So, why is implementing this restoration plan so important? Well, it can help to improve biodiversity and wildlife habitat for mule deer, moose, great horned owls, grouse, raccoons, and even pollinators like bees and moths. It can also help to recharge the aquifers, to help develop paths or corridors for wildlife to move through safely, to rehabilitate the Palouse Prairie, which there's less than 1% of the historical landscape remaining, which means that it's an endangered landscape. It also can help prevent flooding by stabilizing the riverbanks through vegetation, enhancing carbon sequestration, improve the aesthetic of downtown Pullman, and boost the ecosystem resiliency of our area, which means being prepared for more disturbances like fires and extreme temperature changes. So in this model, this is currently what we are seeing on the restoration site. You can see that there is limited established trees, a ponderosa pine, a willow, and then some smaller trees like maples that are introduced species. Additionally, looking at the riverbank or the riparian zone, there's reed canary grass, which, as we already know, it's outcompeting the local vegetation and depleting the nutrients in the riverbanks. In this model, this is the outcome we want to see, which is well-established vegetation like pines and willows. Also, there's no reed canary grass, which allows for native vegetation to get nutrients and stabilize the riverbank. There's also more communal space for people to interact and relax. So, how do we get to that desired restored site plan? Well, we have 3 phases. The first phase is analysis and surveying, which is just taking samples, surveying what vegetation on site is healthy or harmful for the ecosystem, and working with the city of Pullman to abide by the laws and to develop a thorough plan to benefit the community moving forth past this project. The second phase is the fun part, which is removing and replanting, which is where we're going to take out the invasive, disease, and harmful vegetation like the reed canary grass and replacing it with native species such as black hawthorn, ponderosa pines, willows, aster, Spalding's catchfly, and other species that I haven't even mentioned. And then the third phase is monitoring, which is checking on the establishment of that vegetation and making sure that those invasive species that we already removed are nowhere to be seen, and if they are, getting them out there, getting them out of there as fast as possible. Looking at more opportunities that this plan can provide for the community includes more jobs, more volunteer opportunities that can give local residents a sense of ownership for the landscape that they live in, and allow local citizen scientists to become better stewards of the environment with firsthand experience. There will be also more opportunities for skill development, like how does someone plan for a restoration? And how do you collaborate with others to implement this plan? It also provides easy access to the opportunity for communal environmental education. Why will this restoration plan succeed? It is because of the community who typically wants to be involved in local projects such as restoration plans. It's the local organizations like WSU, the Palouse Conservation District, Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts, and so many other great organizations. It's incorporating native vegetation into the plan, which means having resilient vegetation after establishment. And it's the great, thorough monitoring plans used by staff for years on end. Thank you.